चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदा। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना करुणाधारितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखाश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरद्विषे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त श्री राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रा सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् हरे कृष्ण. So which verse we are supposed to discuss today? 3:23:55. Okay, 3:23:55. Thank you. Let's start. We are reading from Srimad Bhagwatam, third canto, 23rd chapter. Mother Devabhuti's lamentation, 23rd chapter, text 55. Okay. Text 55. संगो यः संसृतेर्हेतुर् असतो विहितो धिया स एव साधु सुकृतो निःसङ्गत्वाय कल्पते संगो यः संस्मृतेर्हेतुर् असतो असत्सु विहितो धिया स एव साधु सुकृतो निःसङ्गत्वाय कल्पते संगो यः संस्मृतेर्हेतु असत्सु विहितो धिया स एव साधु सुकृतो निःसङ्गत्वाय कल्पते. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage, but the same type of association performed with a saintly person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. Purport: the association of a saintly person in any way bears the same result. For example, Lord Krishna met many kinds of living entities, and some treated him as an enemy, and some treated him as an agent for sense gratification. It is generally said that the gopis were attached to Krishna for sense attractions, and yet they became first class devotees of the Lord. Kamsa, Shishupal, Dantavakra, and other demons, however, were related to Krishna as enemies. But whether they associated with Krishnas as enemies or for sense gratification, out of fear, or as pure devotees, they all got liberation. That is the result of association with the Lord. Even if one does not understand who he is, the results have the same efficacy. Association with a great saintly person also results in liberation. Just as whether one goes towards fire knowingly or unknowingly, the fire will make one warm. Devahuti expressed her gratefulness, for although she wanted to associate with Kardama Muni only for sense gratification, because he was spiritually great, she was sure to be liberated by his benediction. In the previous verse, Mother Devahuti is saying, not knowing your transcendental situation, I have loved you while remaining attached to the objects of the senses. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all fear. And then comes today's verse. Association for sense gratification is certainly a path of bondage, but the same type of association performed with the saintly person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport The power of saintly association. And in this context, we are understanding. So Prabhupada is giving this example that if one goes near fire, one is bound to get warmth because one is going near fire. Even if one does not know the characteristics of fire, still the experience of warmth is going to be there. Srila Prabhupada is bringing the context of Lord Krishna's pastimes. There's so many personalities who had gone towards Lord Krishna with any kind of motivation. They got purified, they got liberated, and many of them stood a great chance to get Prema Bhakti as well. There are people who went towards Lord Krishna as enemies, like Shishupal and Tavakara. Prabhupada is scoring their names. Ah, Aghasur, Putana. They went as enemies. They got liberated. Prabhupada is so sense gratification. Now, so Prabhupada gives the example of the gopis. Uh, the example of Kubja is very much more prominent in terms of wanting to enjoy with the Lord on a sensual platform. But she got completely purified. So liberation, and not only liberation, many of these personalities stood a great chance to get Prema Bhakti. Putana got Prema Bhakti. Why? Because amidst all her desires to go towards Krishna along with enmity, she also added a desire to serve Krishna that took her back to Godhead. Because how to harm Krishna, she thought, let me feed Krishna milk. So that was a service desire which got embedded into now how to harm Krishna. But who can harm Krishna? Anybody going near Krishna gets purified. So he got purified, and her desire remained feed Krishna with milk. So Krishna gave her entrance into the spiritual world with the position of Dhatari. So Putana became the Dhatari of the Supreme Lord, the nurse of the Supreme Lord in Vrindavan, Brajadham. Aghasur, he also approached Krishna as enemy. So because he had enmity towards Krishna, all the gopas entered into his mouth. He didn't close his mouth. He was waiting for Krishna to come. In the meantime, gopas had a nice time because they were. His tongue was very soft and elastic. So, so the gopas were doing bungee jumping. Doing bungee jumping on his tongue. They were jumping. It was so elastic, and they were doing bungee jumping. They had a nice time. So, although there was some foul smell coming, but the gopas said, okay, Go, the gopas, they are also sargrahi, like Krishna, So they said, okay, no problem, So so the gopas had a nice time, and because the gopas liked it and gopas enjoyed it, Krishna marked that, that became qualification criteria. Aghasur was sent back to Godhead. Aghasur didn't got depression; he was sent back to Godhead, So the Putana family, they got a good grading, 66%, yeah, because two-third of their family, siblings, now they went back to Godhead, So, so Putana, Aghasur, only Bakasur remained behind. Means Bakasur was liberated, but both the other two made it to Krishna sent them to back to Godhead. This is the nature of association of the Supreme Lord. And Srila Prabhupada is explaining the association of a great soul is also that potent. The association of a great soul is also that potent. Uh, So here Prabhupada is saying that now Mother Devahuti, although she is in a state of her lamentation, uh, uh, the lamentation was I did not take full blown benefits. That was the lamentation. I did not take full blown benefit. But at the same time, she knew because Kardama Muni was a full grown devotee or a fully surcharged devotee. Uh, Even that association, uh, which was even that association with the motivation of a familial relationship, not familiar, but familial relationship. Uh, uh, that Even that was purifying enough, and that created her fortune uh, uh, in terms of and that fortune got manifested that she got the association of Lord Kapil Dev, and that and also that missing element not missing but that incomplete element of spiritual realization, which Mother Devahuti is hankering for at this point of time, you know uh, will be fully completed by Lord Kapil Dev in his instructions, in his association to Mother Devahuti. So, in one sense, we can see that Mother Devahuti is not in an incomplete stage because now what is she? She is hankering for association of devotees. She is hankering for Krishna Katha. She is having utmost value for spiritual substance and saintly personalities. And that in one way, or that in not just one way, that in every way is perfection in itself. Because what do perfected devotees ask for? Association of devotees, the opportunity to remember Krishna and be absorbed in Krishna Gatha always. So this goes to show that uh, this association of devotees is a very, very powerful factor, which itself can make it for anything else, which itself which itself can make it, uh, and therefore, if this one factor we take it up with great determination, that no matter what, let me surround myself with sincere and devotees. Let me hover around serious and sincere devotees of the Lord. Because that itself can be such a potent uplifting factor that no other factor is needed. Can we imagine what a great benediction it is that no other factor is needed? No other factor is needed, and that is the oceanic mercy or the potency of the path of bhakti. That if we can utilize all our sincerity in simply being in the association of serious and sincere devotees, upliftment is guaranteed, no other factor is required. And this is what Mother Devabhuti is pointing out. What is a classic example of the association of pure devotees? What it can do to a person of life? What is a classic example of that? Or what are, can we say some classic examples that what kind of a difference the association of a great devotee can bring about? Yes. Uh, so, Prahlad Maharaj had a saintly disposition. Uh, Prahlad Maharaj had a saintly disposition. Uh, but Dhruva Maharaj did not have any saintly disposition. Dhruva Maharaj's saintly credits were created by his mother. His mother was always there, but Dhruva might not have taken her seriously, not so seriously. But when Dhruva Maharaj was in utter desperation, he took his mother's words really seriously because he was in utter desperation. And that qualified him to get further association. So that episode explains the point that sometimes one should not be too fussy about the word pure devotee. So sometimes people say we have to search out pure devotee, you know? And they are using their microscope, telescope, you know? uh, so you have to understand, search for a pure devotee is out of scope. No, no microscope, no telescope, uh, no gyroscope, it's out of the scope. Because the Shastras explain the Shastras explain that it takes a pure devotee to understand another pure devotee. So who is a pure devotee? None of us can understand. Understanding a pure devotee is out of scope, completely out of scope. So then where is the hope? If understanding pure devotee is out of scope, where is the hope? So the hope lies in we have to search for the characteristics of a pure devotee. Much of these characteristics, that where these characteristics are being found in abundance, in good quantity at least, because our ground is starvation. When we find that characteristics in abundance, that's good enough for us. That's good enough for us. These characteristics, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that in NOD, when Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining the symptoms of Bhava Bhakti. So in Bhava Bhakti, those symptoms are 100% manifest. I mean, there is nothing else other than those symptoms. For us, if these symptoms are manifest in good quantity, that is also good enough. So this is what it means. And that is why it is said that so that is also good enough for us. So this translates to, or this tantamounts to the point that one should seek association of serious and sincere and enthusiastic and determined devotees. Because they exhibit the characteristics of Bhava Bhakti in good quantity and abundance, which is good enough for us. And that is why it is said that devotee who is with full dedication following a pure devotee, in effect, is as good as a pure devotee. In effect. So that is why all we have to seek is the association of sincere and serious devotees. That is the point. And that itself will do the magic. That itself will be enigmatic. That itself is going to be enigmatic, actually. So uh, uh, because the fire of bhakti once lit, it goes on. That's the nature of bhakti. Secondly, in this entire process, the Lord is also involved. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, in one of the purports in Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada explained that one who has got uh, uh, a perfect bona fide spiritual master, such a person is already perfect. It's just a matter of time. And therefore, such a person, all perfection, all knowledge, everything will be done in him. And Prabhupada said, but then, but suppose, no, but if there is a person who is so innocuous, means who is so innocent, who is so naive, you can say, who is so naive that even if there is a perfected self-realized spiritual master, and this person not able to take benefit, he is so naive, but is not able to take benefit of self-realized spiritual master also, then what will happen? And Prabhupada says, then also the Supreme Lord will make it up. Nothing to worry. Then also the Supreme Lord will make it up. So this is the process of bhakti actually, and therefore we say that there is no one point uh, association of sincere and serious devotees is good enough to take us back home back to that. That is the point. Association is good enough to take us back home back to God. So some of the devotees said Narad Muni also is an example. Narad Muni is also a classic example of how the desire for bhakti is gendered just because of the presence of the saintly personalities. Just because of saintly personalities. And we see because his mother was serving them, Narad Muni also uh, assisted in that service. And because his mother appointed him to be there always, so he was there always. But what a child can serve much. So he was soaking a lot and doing some small little bit help. What is not much a small child can do. But he was soaking so much. How much? So much so that he could handle the greatest catastrophe of his life. That his mother died. And he could take it up. He was not devastated. He was not bewildered. He was not confused. Uh, uh, he caught hold of the instructions of the Bhaktivedantas and he could take up spiritual life for his whole life. And he became Narada, the great Acharya, our great Acharya. He became Narada. So this is the potency. This is the potency. Now there are two very beautiful aspects which come out of this, the presence of a pure devotee or the presence of devotees. We can actually it's like this presence of the devotees is not the association of devotees is not just of great souls of sincere devotees is not just you know uh, a mercy manifestation. Okay, so whenever we get the opportunity to associate when they come to our city, our temple, No, not like that. The association can be amplified and extended also. How? The presence of great souls can be amplified and extended by when we adopt their mission, we actually soak in their presence in our hearts, in our lives. That is the point. So that is an important point, that when we actually soak in, we actually take in their presence when we adopt their mission. Uh, when we start prioritizing or giving the utmost priority to their mission, no? Like that. And from this verse, one more beautiful thing what we can learn is that we see that how, a person, representing the acharyas in the parampara, it is very important for us that when we are dealing with people, we need to increase the presence of the Lord and the great acharyas in their lives more and more. That is why Prabhupada stressed on distributing books. Because what we speak, how much we sustain, and how much we can transmit, and how much they will sustain. If we give them a book, we are giving them access to all acharyas. Their presence can purify. So, books, kirtans, uh, so that purifies, that purifies. That purifies. The more one hears, talks, simulates, thinks, that purifies, and therefore the talks and the association. Say the Vedic tradition is what the association of the great souls and the acharyas and the Lord is actually perpetualized in the form of tradition. So when children are born in this tradition, they are soaked with the lives of acharyas, the mood of acharyas, the mood and pastimes of the Lord. And by that, what happens is that the heart gets purified. The heart gets purified. Let's stop here for today. Are there any questions? Hare Krishna. Hmm. Mhm. What was Mother Devahuti's lamentation? And what is the characteristic of a pure devotee? Mother Devahuti was lamenting that so many years she stayed with a self-realized soul, pure devotee, God intoxicated devotee Kardama Muni, and she did not take much spiritual benefit. Uh, she was now. We have to understand Mother Devahuti herself is a very great soul, because all these years and decades she had dedicated to serving Kardama Muni. Although we don't see so much of we don't hear about or see in Bhagavatam so much of explicit Krishna Katha or spiritual discourse which Mother Devahuti is hearing from Kardama Muni, we don't see so much mention of that. But we see the highlight is that she had been assisting and serving selflessly. So in one sense, no, this is the humility of a devotee also, Vaishnav, that a Vaishnav always thinks that he's not done much. So, uh, so in that sense, Mother Devahuti, she never expressed any material desire. Although it is explained in Bhagavatam that Kardamuni understood her heart, so he created a nice palatial mansion for her, and then he gave her children, nine daughters and one son, Lord Kapil Dev himself. Uh, but she never expressed any desire. She was so humble. So that means that itself is a very great qualification we have to understand. So in one sense, it's Mother Devahuti's humility that Vaishnav always think that they have done less. But what Mother Devahuti is expressing is that she did not take so much spiritual benefit. in terms of hearing and understanding the realizations of Kardama Muni. But at the same time, she's acknowledging that because Kardama Muni is a great soul and she has got that little bit association, although the motivation was a familial relationship, but she knows that that itself is good enough to sail her through. So that is the lamentation. What are the characteristics of a pure devotee? Uh, uh, what are the characteristics of a pure devotee? A pure devotee, we will see, is so these characteristics. I think there are eight symptoms which are mentioned. I may not be able to remember all eight. It's mentioned in NOD. But few in the essence, what I remember is that a pure devotee has a great taste in the holy name. Namagane Sadaruchi is one of the qualities which is mentioned. Uh, that Bhava Bhakti, one always wants to chant and sing the glories of the Lord. So that is a characteristic that one always, as soon as there is opportunity to chant and sing, one forgets all. One can even supersede all bodily limitations. We see so many proper disciples also. Their body may be very ill, but they start chanting, doing Krishna Katha. They can overcome these bodily. They forget that they are in the material body. So that's a characteristic of Bhava Bhakti. Uh, 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 so that is one. Another symptom is humility, manashunyata, manashunyata, the humility. That is another characteristic which is mentioned. Another character is manashunyata. So humility. They're for the mission of the Lord, they're ready to be humble. No ego problems. No ego problems. No. So anything which is favorable to the devotional service of the Lord, ready to accept. No ego problems. Uh, just like devotees were sharing, as well as Gopal Krishna Maharaj, his attitude was that anybody who is helping in proper mission, he was ready to, put his head on their feet. They required, to bow down to that extent. Why? Because they are helping in proper mission to move forward in any way. Nana Shunyata. This is a characteristic of Bhava Bhakti. Then Avyartha Kalatvam is another characteristic of Bhava and Avyartha Kalatvam. Such a devotee, he doesn't waste any time. Every moment in the Krishna service, there is a plan. In Krishna service, Avyartha Kalatvam. Okay, then there are more. So I'll read now from NOD. There are more. Uh, so the next one is Shanti. So such a devotee is always undisturbed. Shanti means undisturbed. Shanti is undisturbed. Is undisturbed. Nothing can disturb him. Nothing can disturb him. Another characteristic is Asha Baddha. Such a devotee is always hopeful of the mercy of the Lord. Always hopeful. Asha Baddha. Nothing can discourage him. Nothing can discourage him from the service of the Lord. Asha Baddha. That is a characteristic. And all these so the sixth one is Virakti, detachment from the sense gratification. Virakti. We'll see that Virakti is very renounced. So that we can see. That we can see. And then the seventh and eighth are towards Asakti. So seventh one is Asakti Tad Gunakhyane, a natural attachment to describe the qualities and pastimes of the Lord. And uh, and the eighth one is Priti Stad Vasati Sthale. Such a devotee has a great desire to live in places where the Lord performed his pastimes, or places where there is association of devotees. So such a devotee is addicted to the association of devotees. Now you cannot separate him. Uh, these are uh, these eight qualities of Bhava Bhakti which are mentioned in NOD by Rupa Goswami. And So, what is sincerity and seriousness? Wherever we find these qualities in good quantity, we can understand that yes, this is here there is seriousness and sincerity, and that association is a great benediction which can change our destiny. Though we only if we grab onto it and continue grabbing onto it throughout our lives. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Let's stop here for today. Mantra Srimad Bhagwatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.